I want to welcome the courageous chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. How are you, sir?
I'm well.
You're going to be heard by more people now than all cable TV put together. You aware of that? That's the power of talk radio, especially this show. Anyway,
I'm a big fan. I appreciate the opportunity to present the facts.
It's funny how you come under attack by the media. And I'm thinking about this before you came on. I'm thinking, all right, you talk about up to 20 shell corporations, millions of dollars flowing in from the communist Chinese. Wouldn't that alone, without anything else, be enough to create curiosity by any journalist? I mean, that is amazing what you revealed there while Joe Biden is vice president of the United States. There's 1,000 questions.
It's amazing, and the media is worse than I thought. I had a low opinion of the media going into this, but it's breathtaking the way they're attacking me for having the audacity to investigate Joe Biden. I mean, what we presented and produced to the American people last week at the press conference were three things. Number one, Joe Biden said his family never took any money from China. I think we all knew that, but we actually had the bank records to prove that his family took millions of dollars from China. The second thing we proved is the media has said all along in defense of Joe Biden that none of that money was ever received by Biden while Joe Biden was in office. We showed that was a lie, and we didn't get through all of it. We just went through two countries, and there are other countries, but we showed 16 payments from Romania alone while he was vice president, traveling to Romania in charge of Romanian policy and things like foreign aid. So we proved the media was wrong in saying that none of those payments ever happened while Joe Biden was in office. And lastly, we named 9 Biden family members, including his grandchild who was in college, who got wires from these foreign nationals. So the press comes out, in the New York Times, their headline is Comer swings and misses. Can't link anything to Joe Biden or something like that. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? So it's been an amazing week to see how bad the mainstream media is.
Now that we have this report out by Durham, and they're doing the same thing. Oh, we already knew all this stuff. What's the big deal? Look, I think we have to just conclude that the media in America are as corrupt as they've ever been, that they are part of the Democrat Party structure, they're mouthpieces and propagandists for them, and that people who really care about this country and checks and balances and accountability and its survivability just have to blow off the media, as difficult as that is, and plow ahead. Now, I am concerned about the FBI director. This guy is sanctimonious. He to me, is very snarky. He's going to keep using sources and methods as an excuse not to turn over information. First of all, the FBI didn't exist when the country was founded, neither did the Department of Justice. They created Congress. And if you guys don't have oversight, there is no oversight. We have a rogue agency, right?
That's right, and that's the one thing the Durham report stated as a recommendation. They need some type of oversight, some type of check and balance in the FBI. I mean, all we're asking for with this latest whistleblower that Senator Grassley produced is just whether or not the FBI looked into this allegation, which is 100% consistent with the bank records and with the shell corporations and with all the information that we presented to the American people last week. This informant turned this over to the FBI 3 or 4 years ago, before anyone knew about the shell companies, before anyone knew about how the Bidens actually had their business model to influence peddle. So for this allegation to come out years before we knew the truth about all the LLCs and all that, it gives credibility to the allegation, and it would explain why the Biden family members, 9 of them, have received money from foreign nationals. But the FBI won't even tell us whether or not they looked into it.
Yeah, that just can't stand. And I hope if you guys litigate this, you'll fight it all the way to Supreme Court. Mr. Chairman, I have more questions for you. It's a pleasure to have Jamie Comer, the chairman of House Oversight, with us. I know he's a very, very busy man. Let me ask you a question. You had mentioned that some of the whistleblowers are getting very nervous and upset and cold feet. What can you tell us about that?
Well, you look at the two individuals that were involved with him from China. They were reportedly detained, and no one's seen them for a while. You've got the Israeli that was alleging some corruption involving both the president's son and the president, or then vice president. He's missing in Syria or somewhere in that vicinity. And you've got the I don't want to know if the correct term is whistleblowers, but the people that are basically informants for us on where to look, where the shell companies were hid, things like that. These are people that used to be in some type of relationship with Hunter Biden, either a personal or professional relationship. They're all either in court or they literally fear for their lives. Many have been contacted by the Biden attorneys, threatened them because, if you were in business with Hunter Biden, you probably aren't squeaky clean yourself. So you've got a lot of intimidation taking place. I mean, and look at me. They flew a banner over the Kentucky Derby, which honestly helped me. But this dark money group, probably, I'd say it cost over $100,000 to fly a plane all day over the Kentucky Derby, 250,000 people, with a banner attacking me. They've got billboards in my district. I mean, this only motivates me, doesn't attack me, but that's their business model. They're trying to intimidate the witnesses. They're trying to intimidate the banks that are cooperating with us, and that they know the banks that we're about to subpoena. And it's very disappointing to see these are people representing our leaders at the highest levels.
Now, these are thugs.
Actively engaged in a cover-up.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Chairman. During the January 6 hearings, if somebody looked funny at a witness, they got protection. If somebody looked funny at a witness, they were said to be threatening them. The media went on about how brave they were and so forth. And, of course, in your case, and when it comes to these other witnesses, they mock you and they mock the committee. As a matter of fact, remember they had that whistleblower against Trump in the Ukraine case, and you couldn't even repeat the guy's name, even though it was public. Even though it was public. The media said, don't repeat. So it's completely disparate justice system, but it's also a disparate media treatment. That is, no matter what you guys do, this is what you're going to face. My question to you is, somehow you're going to have to pry information out of this FBI, and the only way you're going to be able to resolve it is to sue them. And one other thing, sir, if I may, since the law is not going to catch up with this FBI or the Department of Justice, and the idea that the Attorney General hasn't appointed a special counsel on Biden yet is so grotesquely unbelievable. You're going to have to slash their budget. You're going to have to dig into this department, into this agency, and either break them up, reconfigure it, reform it, but this thing needs to be shrinked. I think our founding fathers would say, my God, what the hell have you created here?
I agree 100%. I think the support is there in the House of Representatives within the Republican conference. And I will tell you, Chuck Grassley's pretty upset. And he's always been a defender of the FBI. He's always been known for developing relationships and protecting whistleblowers. And the way the FBI has treated Charles Grassley, who is a credible, long-serving, distinguished member of the U.S. Senate, it's I think opened his eyes to the fact that this is a deep state bureaucracy that's out of control, and the only way to rein them in is to cut their budget. So the Senate is going to have to give us backup in October when we negotiate the full year appropriations bill. And there's going to have to be an awakening, and there's going to have to be some accountability to this runaway deep state agency that's covering up public corruption in the White House. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That's what they're doing. They're covering up corruption in the White House.
They're involved in monitoring Americans on social media with the old Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They are involved in going after the Catholic Church.
Right.
They're involved in going after pro-lifers. They're involved in going after parents. They're involved in going after, have you noticed, purely Republican politicians pretty much? They didn't need to jack up this documents case to a criminal investigation. As a former chief of staff to an AG, we would never have done that. And even on the January 6th stuff, you're criminally investigating what exactly? I mean, it's one thing to prosecute people who did violent things, but Donald Trump was the guy that offered 10,000 National Guardsmen. That's a kind of funny way to run an insurrection, don't you think?
I agree. And, history is going to show that the overwhelming majority of the investigations against Donald Trump were baseless witch hunts. That's what the Durham report proved today. Much of what the January 6th committee produced, especially with respect to they tried to pin it on, I can't even, the guy with the funny outfit was completely fake, and they knew it. Mm-hmm. And it's just so disappointing to see this at the government. We knew that government employees and agencies like the EPA were very partisan, very liberal, and almost a lost cause to deal with. But when you see these same types of employees in the intelligence community in the Department of Justice, I mean, it's a scary situation for our democracy. And Congress is the last thing, because used to the media would hold public corruption accountable. Now they attack any Republican who dares investigate and deliver the facts about public corruption on a Democrat. If it's a Republican, it's okay. But if it's a Democrat, that's a no-no.
Is there more to come? You don't need to give me specifics.
There's a lot more to come. Remember, at the press conference, I said we've subpoenaed 4 banks. There are 12 banks. And I talked about 2 countries, Romania and China. We all know they were messing around in Ukraine, in Russia. Jim Biden, who no one talks about, his shady business dealings were primarily in the Middle East. And then you've got some stuff that's popped up in Africa and Mexico with the president's son. So, yes, there's a lot more to come. It's just taken a long time. They're fighting us every step of the way on getting bank information, on having people come in for transcribed interviews. I mean, it's an uphill battle, but we will get there. We've made a lot of progress in 100 days, and I think we'll make a lot more in the next 100.
I think you have. Are the Democrats trying to sabotage the investigation?
Every step of the way. When we got those first bank records in from Bank of America, it showed, among other things, a $3 million wire to, for all practical purposes, a shell company that then dispersed it to 4 Biden family members over a course of about 60 days. Jamie Raskins gets everything. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize. When we subpoena information, they make 2 copies, one for the majority and one for the minority. Anytime I issue a subpoena, Jamie Raskins knows about it, who's my counterpart, the ranking member on the Democrat side.
Yeah, I know who he is. He's rotten to the core. Yeah.
Right, he is. So when that information came out and we were gathering it, he issued a statement to the press and said, well, there was nothing there. All that was there were receipts to Papa John's Pizza and dance recitals. He left out a $3 million wire, plus all the payments to the Biden family members. But the media took what he said and made a story about it, making fun of me because I issued a subpoena and we didn't find anything. A week later, we issued the statement that $3 million from the Chinese Communist Party was wired into this account, Robinson Walker, and then turned around and split a little over a third of it to 4 different Biden family members. So Jamie Raskin just lied to the American people, and the media wrote it. And then I present the media facts, and the headline in the New York Times is Comer swings and misses. I mean, it's a joke.
But here's the good news. Half the country wants nothing to do with the New York Times. New York Times promoted Stalin. The New York Times covered up the Holocaust. The New York Times helped install Castro. I mean, their record's pretty lousy, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I agree.
All right, Congressman. Listen, you're terrific. You're a great patriot, and we will have your back here. So God bless you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, you take care. It's a good man.